Hello, National University College of Extended Learning students. This is David Goyette again with going over CSET World History test review. Coming up here, the quiz or the diagnostic test for the first unit, or subtest 1. Let's continue with, we left off with Gutenberg, the invention of the printing press, the democratizing effects of that, the democratization of Europe as a result of Gutenberg's combination of the time period having come together with both the Reformation and the Protestant Revolution, arriving with this burst and the availability of printed material. Let's keep going with John Cabot, the English explorer who gave England its name. Its claim to North America was John Cabot, Italian explorer actually. His name was like Giovanni Cabot or something, but John Cabot, his English name. Of course, Leif Erikson, as you know, visited North America. So as far as the Europeans or other peoples coming to the North America, other parts of the Americas, there are many accounts, some that include even Chinese explorers coming that far. But John Cabot and Leif Erikson, while he explored the region, traded with the natives at the time, did not claim the land for any particular group of people. He just traded and then kept those trade routes and that those relations to himself and his people. John Cabot, on the other hand, was claiming the land for England. So North America was claimed by John Cabot in 1497. The early civilization was so advanced, its methods in sea navigation allowed them to sail at night by viewing the stars. There was the Phoenicians. This is going way back much earlier, so I kind of anachronistically skipped along here. The last Incan king, Tupac Amaru, was captured and executed by this nation in 1572. That, of course, would be Spain, because, as you know, Spain was conquering much of South America early on in the early days of exploration. In 1572, Tupac Amaru was captured and executed by Spain. In 1453, the Ottoman Turks, nomads from Central Asia, captured the Byzantine capital of Constantinople and renamed it Istanbul. With your knowledge of history, identify two key factors which led to their successful conquest and expansion. What would these factors propel the Ottoman Turks on the world stage in 1453, the mid-1500s? Basically, this is a short answer question you need to reply to, or a short answer essay. One or two paragraphs would suffice. As the Ottoman Turks extended their empire into Europe and North America, military success came from their command of gunpowder technology. Further expansion saw their empire quickly grow into the Middle East and then extend toward the Balkans and the Crimean Peninsula, creating a multinational empire. Under Suleiman the Great, the empire became a dominant naval force controlling the Mediterranean Sea. By the mid-1500s, the empire was the largest and most powerful in Europe and the Middle East. It's one of the last and most stable dynasties. In China, the Blank dynasty gave a very positive impression on Western nations while under the leadership of Kongzi. This, of course, would be the Manchu or Qing dynasty, Qing. The Manchu dynasty came to power in the 1600s and quickly expanded China's power in Asia. While Han, 400 years of good times, the Han dynasty was 400 years of good times. The Zhou dynasty, which was known for its bronze ware and philosophy, these dynasties were significant in Chinese history. They are part of the Chinese dynasties which did not have a lasting impression on Western nations. It was the later Manchu or Qing dynasty which had that effect. Downstream for the flow of the Nile is to the north. Please note this. Downstream for the flow of the Nile is north. The Nile Delta, where people have been farming for 500 years, is in Egypt. The Nile flows from Central Africa north to the Mediterranean Sea, from Sudan on the way up through Egypt. The circumference of the earth was calculated by Eratosthenes. He was the first to measure the circumference of the earth and also managed to determine the distance between the earth, the sun, and the moon. As a writer, philosopher, and astronomer, Eratosthenes also devised a system for latitude and longitude. So he was way ahead of his time in terms of geological science and understanding the basic math of the cosmos. This semi-arid grassland and savanna, this is a question that came up for my 9th graders a couple weeks back when they were taking their geography course. This semi-arid grassland and savanna region in south of the Sahara and runs 2,400 miles from the Atlantic Ocean to the Horn of Africa. This region is called the Sahel. It's spelled S-H-E-L. S-A-H-E-L. Sahel. Okay. Moving on, the Crimean War from 1850 to 1856 between Russian and the alliance of British, French, and Ottoman troops broke out after Russia had threatened the stability of the Ottoman Empire by seeking the Ottoman-controlled territory in the Balkans. Russia was easily defeated, proving the West's superior military strength at this time. The Opium War between Britain and China between 1839 and 1842 over the sale of opium in China escalated as in the last of the 1700s the British East India Company began importing opium into China, where they traded it for silver and thus threatened the trade balance. What group unsuccessfully tried to rid China of foreign influence by encouraging an internal rebellion? This would be the Boxers. And to review the Boxer Rebellion, please see the content on the website. Which of the following was the greatest influence on the outcome of World War II in Europe? The biggest influence on the outcome of World War II, as you'll recall, if you've seen the Ken Burns documentaries or reviewed the history, was the U.S. factory's productive capacity. The United States was able to kick in, and regardless of what happened on the battlefield, it was clear that by 1942, the Axis powers in Europe had lost the war of production. The 37.5 billion of war material produced by U.S. factories in that year was nearly triple the output of German manufacturers. In later years, conditions only worsened for Germany as Axis production declined and U.S. output increased by leaps and bounds. Let's see here. The Monroe Doctrine, articulated in 1823 as part of the U.S. foreign policy, sought to limit European interference in the Americas. The doctrine indicated that, this is the Monroe Doctrine now, attempts by Europe to take control of the land in the Americas would be viewed as a hostile act, and that in theory the United States would respond to those. In other words, please stay out of our backyard. Latin America would be our backyard, according to the Monroe Doctrine. A little less than a minute here. Which of the following most influenced nation-building efforts in the Indian subcontinent during the decade after the establishment of the Indian independence in 1947? Now, the British had left. Religious differences between Hindus and Muslims was the big defining and shaping political force in that region, religious force. And in 1947, leaders in the Indian independence movement and the British Parliament abandoned plans for creating a united India because of mounting conflict between Hindus and Muslims. Instead, they agreed to a plan that divided the Indian subcontinent into two nations. I'll stop it here. We'll pick back up in a second to finish this out.